July 2022 and I'm back in Sweden, this time in the southeast of the country in Kalmar, home to a very early European Union. The oldest evidence for town, or what is now Kalmar, is from the 11th century, though archaeological finds suggest the area has been inhabited since prehistoric times. Kalmar originally grew up around the site of the castle. During the 12th century, the first defensive tower was constructed alongside the harbour. With its location on the Baltic, but protected by Åland Island, the site became a well-protected harbour and for a number of years a key naval base. At the end of the 1200s, King Magnus Ladulås had a new fortress built on the site with a curtain wall, round corner towers and two square gatehouses surrounding that original tower. 1397 saw the town and the castle take part in one of the most important events in Scandinavian history when the Kalmar Union was formed by Queen Margaret I of Denmark. Daughter of the King of Denmark, married to the King of Norway and Sweden, she succeeded in having her son Olaf, born in December 1370, recognised as the heir to the throne of Denmark, to which he became king in 1376, with Margaret acting as guardian. 4 years later, he also took the crown of Norway and Sweden with the death of his father. Olaf only made it to 16 before he died, and with no heirs, Margaret became regent of Denmark and Norway in 1387. She adopted her great-nephew, Eric of Pomerania, in the same year. In 1396, he was elected King of Denmark and Sweden. His coronation took place on the 17th of June 1397 in the castle, and with that, the Kalmar Union was formed. The union brought together Denmark, Norway and Sweden, the latter covering much of what is today Finland, along with Norway's overseas territories of Iceland, Greenland, the Faroe, Orkney and Shetland Islands. One of the main reasons for the union was to act as a counterbalance to the influence of the Hanseatic League and to prevent Germanic expansion into the Baltic region. Legally, the countries remained separate sovereign states, however their domestic and foreign policies were directed by a common monarch. Diverging interests and Swedish nobility's dissatisfaction with the dominant role that Denmark had led to conflicts that hampered the union on multiple occasions. In 1520, Christian II of Denmark invaded Sweden with a large army and was crowned King of Sweden, with supporters of the previous king, Sten Sture the Younger, executed en masse in what became known as the Stockholm Bloodbath. Gustav Vasa had declared himself protector of the realm in 1521, shortly after his father was executed in the Stockholm Bloodbath, and over the following 2 years led the Swedish War of Liberation against Christian II. On the 6th of June 1523, Gustav Vasa was elected as King of Sweden, and his triumphant entry into Stockholm 11 days later marked Sweden's succession from the Union. In 1524, the Treaty of Malmö officially ended the war and acknowledged the independence of Sweden. Whilst that may have been the end for the full Union, Norway itself remained united with Denmark until it was transferred to Sweden in 1814, only finally gaining full independence in 1905. Back at Kalmar Castle, and now under the control of King Gustav I, work was undertaken to improve and convert the fortress into a castle fit for a Renaissance king, with the castle taking on much of its final form during this time. The castle was badly damaged during the Kalmar War in the early 1610s and by fire in 1642. Repairs were begun, but by the end of the 1600s, the castle was allowed to fall into disrepair. Leap forward nearly 200 years and work started on repairing the castle. By 1891, the general structure of the castle had been restored to the shape that it has today. Works continued over the next 50 years until in 1941 the castle was once again surrounded by a moat and restored to become one of Sweden's best preserved Renaissance castles. Following a devastating war, the kingdoms of Denmark, Norway and Sweden signed the Treaty of Roskilde, which ceded large amounts of Danish territory to Sweden, effectively creating the borders that exist today. With that, Kalmar ceased to be a border town and its importance rapidly diminished. Badly damaged during wars, the decision was made to build a new town a short distance away to revitalise Kalmar. The new main square, Stortorget, now forms the heart of modern Kalmar, with the town hall and Baroque Kalmar Cathedral facing each other across the square. Building work on the cathedral started in 1660, but it took until 1703 before the building was finally finished. The church was restored between 2005 and 2011, both internally and externally. Whilst it may be a new town, it was still the middle of the 17th century when construction started, so a wall was constructed around the city. Today, small fragments of that wall, and in places the moat defences, still exist to explore. From the northeastern bastion, you also get a good view of a 1970-built Ölandsbron that crosses the Kalmar Strait to the island of Öland beyond. Close by is the Maritime Museum that tells the maritime history of this part of the coast. And just round the corner is the Kalmar Lands Museum. This museum tells the history of the city and the region, but its main focus is on the Swedish flagship the Kronan, which sunk in a battle just off the coast of Kalmar in June 1676. Much like the better known Vasa in Stockholm, the sediment and waters of the Baltic helped preserve the ship. It was rediscovered in 1980, and since then around 90% of the ship and its contents have been recovered. The museum is home to a large number of the artefacts found on the various archaeological excavations. Kalmar Öland Airport is a small regional airport with a handful of flights a week to Stockholm, where you can connect onto international flights. There's also a handful of trains each day to Gothenburg, taking around 5 hours to make the journey. Alternatively, there are hourly Öresund tag trains from Kalmar direct to Copenhagen Airport, which take just over 3.5 hours to make the journey, where you can connect into the largest of the main airports in Scandinavia, with Copenhagen having connections across North America, Europe, North Africa, the Middle East and Far East.